It gives them permission to be who they are. Now, if we're thinking about and talking about authenticity, I can't think of a more powerful place for you to get to. It is literally one of the most soul-filling elements of what we do with people. Understanding who you are as a speaker, your true core speaking identity, then allows us to inform the structures you should use, to think about whether humor and funny comes into it, to understand how you should use the stage, to understand how you should show up, to understand the purposes for your speaking if they're congruent. And if we start with that, nothing else goes wrong. God, this is a conversation I really want to have. This whole false focus that we have on authenticity in speaking. And I don't mean from the point of view of your intrinsic motivators or what we need from the people in the fronts of our rooms and our stages and our platforms. I'm talking about this rash of focused advertising campaigns, convincing people that they need to come with them to turn into an authentic speaker. I'm talking about the pressure and the sales pitches done, which are all about come with me and I'll make you an authentic speaker. Now, if you've been around this long enough from a trainee and coach perspective, because there are a lot of good ones out there, I'm going to put myself into that category. If you've been around this game long enough, then you know who I'm speaking about. You see their ads in the feed or you go and investigate them and you're literally like, WTF. This is not who we need in our industry. This is not who, and they are all loudly banging their tin cans saying, we will make you an authentic speaker. If you're somebody who has been continually looking to improve your speaking skills, I can guarantee you, if you've been actively investing, you've ended up in one of these rooms. And by one of these rooms, I mean the rooms where you buy in because they're going to actually help you hone your message, your way based on your experience and your expertise. And you know that they've sold you the dream of becoming an authentic speaker. And you get in the room and behind closed doors, it is literally, I will make you an authentic speaker in my likeness. I will make you an authentic speaker, the way that I speak, the way that I tell my stories, the audiences that I've found, and the way that I made my money. And that's all well and good to share your success, but to say that actually creating authenticity means you then have to do it in my likeness using my formulas and the ways that I tell my stories actually is counterintuitive and counterproductive. And can I say without integrity? Because authenticity matters in speaking. I am never going to argue that. But the amount of people out there selling that they can make others authentic speakers who then can't actually allow that person to shine in their own right is something that actually has to be stopped. Now, I know that's a strong statement, but let me walk you through some gentler ways of explaining it, because I could actually rant about this, swear, scream on stage, on video, through this podcast, but it's not going to help any of us. So some of the really gentle, quick explanations of how this shows up is in also the myths that we are led to believe. So for example, when I walk into a room, if somebody happens to introduce me as a speaker trainer, which thankfully doesn't happen a lot anymore, but if somebody does that, I will have people say to me, I want to do more speaking and I know that I have to be funny. And my response to that is always, are you funny in real life? Because quite literally, if you're not funny in real life, don't try to be deliberately funny on stage. Now, funny is different to humor. Humor is naturally occurring in a lot of stories and we don't even realize it, and we can absolutely amplify it. But believing that you have to be funny to be successful is like just short of ludicrous. Yes, funny, humor, laughing gets people connected and engaged, but it's not the only way. Right? And literally, if you're not funny in real life and you're trying to be funny on a stage, you will not be authentic no matter how much you make people laugh, and it will never feel comfortable. You will literally feel like you are in somebody else's skin. That's the first way we see it. The second way I see it is I know I need to work with a stage director. I need to understand where I, move to the left for this and move to the right for that and go to the back of the stage for this and go to the front of the stage for that. No, move how it suits you. People now know. We have sophisticated audiences. We now know when something is deliberately orchestrated, when something unfolds organically because we know and we are confident in what we are speaking into. It captivates, it resonates. People magically follow you. Sometimes you need to buffer around the edges. I've got one client at the moment who didn't realize that she paces the stage, and she does pace the stage because she's naturally very energetic and she naturally doesn't stand still. So do we need to tone that down a bit for the audience? Yes, we do. But do we need to change it? Hell no, we don't. Right? So this is what is driving me crazy with this marketing push on Come With Me. They're tapping into the desire of all of us to never be seen as anything other than what we truly are, to never be accused of turning up inauthentically. What I am saying is we have to understand who we are, right? What goes into being an authentic speaker. Now, we have a Venn diagram. I want you to picture this in your mind as you're driving along or running or listening or whatever you're doing at the moment. If you're at home and can do it, grab a pen and pad and draw a quick Venn diagram, 3 circles overlapping. In the middle, you've got authenticity. That's the bullseye. That's what we're all looking for. Now, what I will do is I'll make sure that we've actually got a copy of this downloadable from the show notes and also from the YouTube description for you. But in the middle, we've got authenticity. That's our bullseye. The first or the top circle, I always do mine with 1 circle on the top and 2 on the bottom. The top circle is actually who I am for the first element of authenticity. The second element of authenticity is how I serve. And the third element of authenticity is what I know. So who I am, how I serve, what I know. Those 3 things together actually naturally bring in your authentic character. Now, between who I am and how I serve, that is your character. What I mean by that is how you show up in the world. That is your identity in the world, who you are and how you serve. Between how I serve and what I know, when those 2 come together, that creates the best of you. So when you know what you know, and some of us don't, but when you know what you know and you understand how you serve the world the best, then that brings out the best in you. Then the third combination that we have is sitting in between what I know and who I am. So on the far side of the Venn diagram, the overlap between what I know and who I am, that is story. We communicate that through story. We build trust, credibility, and connection through story. So what you know gets communicated to our audiences by showing up as who you are and communicating that through story. So you'll see this in the Venn diagram. So again, who I am, how I serve, and what I know are our core elements of authenticity. And then character, the best of us, and story is how we glue that together for an audience to know without us having to yell and shout it that we are truly authentic and they can lean into what we have to share with them and trust us. Now, in our world, we always start with who am I, who I am, because we're looking to build your character and understand who you are at a core, truly at a core, from a speaking identity perspective. Right now, we actually have a process that we take our clients through to do this, and it gives us insight into your core speaking identity. And the other word that we obviously use for that is archetypes. So it's your speaking archetypes. But this is not your brand archetypes. This is not the marketing archetypes. This is not our personality archetypes. This is your speaking archetype, who you naturally are as a speaker. Now, the way I think about this and the way I explain it is if Carl Jung and Marianne Williamson's archetypes had love children, they would be the speaking archetypes that we use with our clients. And 98% of the time, they have been spot on, even when people resist them. So we had a situation, I was delivering a workshop in Cincinnati in the US, and we were going through the archetype process, and somebody who was very high profile and incredibly successful in Cincinnati was in the audience. And she had already decided that she was the jester. She's the funny person. She uses humor to connect and break down walls. She's a journalist by profession. And yet she came out as a lioness. And we actually argued on the floor. And she's quite powerful and persuasive in her spoken word content with the career that she's had. And so we got to a point where I just said, look, let's park this and see what unfolds over the next few days and if we need to adjust. But I do believe you're a lioness. On day 2 of the workshop, she actually walked in the bathroom at the same time I was there, and she pulled up and she had tears well in her eyes. And she looked at me and she said, I have an apology to make. I said, what's that? And she said, I am a lioness. She said, I had to become the jester to make it and to keep a sustainable career over the amount of time that I've had my career for. And in doing so, I actually forgot that I have the heart of a lioness. Now, this is the power of it. And what most people tell us when we walk through this exercise is that it gives them permission to be who they are. Now, if we're thinking about and talking about authenticity, I can't think of a more powerful place for you to get to. It is literally one of the most soul-filling elements of what we do with people. Understanding who you are as a speaker, your true core speaking identity, then allows us to inform the structures you should use, to think about whether humor and funny comes into it, to understand how you should use the stage, to understand how you should show up, to understand the purposes for your speaking if they're congruent. And if we start with that, nothing else goes wrong. Now, I mentioned before that our speaking archetypes are kind of like if Carl Jung and Marianne Williamson had a love child, these are the archetypes that would appear. And there's 3 categories. So we have 16 archetypes in total, and there's 3 categories. And whilst we don't have time today to run through all of the archetypes themselves, I wanted to talk to you about the categories that we use with our speakers, because I think it's really important to understand just what it is that we're looking at and what some of the differentiators are. So the 3 categories that we use with our archetypes are across connection, impact, and wisdom. And the first one is connection. I'm actually going to read these straight out for you so that I don't miss any of the detail. But connection is all about, it matters to you to create connection wherever you are, from any stage or any platform. That actually is more important for you than anything else. You need to be able to bring people together and create a common understanding. You want people to feel into your message. You want them to believe in it, to follow you, to create community. Relationship and engagement matters, especially if you have the opportunity to shift someone's perspective on what it takes to create all of that. So the first one of connection is not about, oh, we need to connect with all the audience. It's actually about your motivators, what lights you up, what brings the best of you to the stage. So that's the first category of connection. The second category is impact. And again, I'm going to read it. With impact as your core purpose, you are someone who refuses to or does not want to accept the status quo in some part of your or the world. It matters to you that what you do makes a big difference. You are here to make a dent in the universe, and you will use all of your skills and your smarts to create that dent. You are also, though, drawn to speak up and step in only when you know you can make that difference. So you're very singular focused. You invest in your ability to cut through. You want to jolt people. Some people want to slap people awake. That's the impact makers. Then the third category we use is wisdom. And wisdom is being immersed in the core purpose of wisdom is that you want to share. You are not focused on the impact you can personally make, but how you can get wisdom and insight and learning and everything you know to be true about the world into the hands of others who can truly create that difference as well. It's like you're the kingmaker and you want to create kings around you and send ripples, queens and kings. It's like you want a bunch of people raising in your likeness to go and amplify the difference that can be made. This is often about being the queen maker, as I said, rather than the queen, or the king maker rather than the king. And although the most powerful speakers and communicators exist in this world where they're actually making sure that they're getting their wisdom into the hands of others, they can also take the lead. They can straddle both roles very, very comfortably. So across those categories, when it comes to connection, the connection categories that we have are jester, queen, luminary, lioness, preacher, and rock star, right? Now, some people may think that a rock star is more about impact, but trust me, they're about connection. Then in the category of impact, we have the magician, the rebel, the liberator, the hero, and the advocate. When it comes to the category of wisdom, we have the catalyst, the explorer, the guide, the professor, and the sage. Now, it doesn't matter which one of those that you actually are or want to be, but actually are. It doesn't matter which one of those you are, they'll be right for you. And that then informs how you personally should be showing up with your own speaking strategy and your own speaking style to be truly authentic. Because authenticity isn't something that you create. Authenticity and authentically speaking is simply someone who you are.